My name is Gaston J. Wallet, and I perceive myself as an ambassador of virtues. Aloha and mahalo for taking your time to listen to this presentation entitled Listening, Contemplating Loving. So where does this book come from? Well, let's start from the very beginning. First, I spent my early years as a child being raised by nuns in an orphanage. During my upbringing, whenever there was a conflict, and there were many dailies, the nun would bring us into the hallways where many pictures of saints were displayed all over the walls, and they would always say the same thing. Gaston, what would St. Paul choose to do in this situation? Pointing at the picture. Would he choose anger or would he choose forgiveness? This kind of training went on for 3 years, and yes, I would always choose the right answer, or else there would be consequences. I lived in a world where sainthood was part of our upbringing. As a young child, I believed that saints actually lived among us and that they resided on the rooftop of our orphanage. The nuns would always tell us that we too can become saints if we only choose wisely. So to me, saints are real, or at least that's how I was brought up to believe. During my life, I've been blessed in witnessing many miracles, and I had to endure countless of hardship as well. At the age of 18, I had an out-of-body experience that profoundly changed the direction of my life. So after recuperating from this major event, I began to write this book, which my inner guides had asked me to do so. However, my out-of-body experiences were so out of this world that I disregarded them because I strongly believed that people would not believe me. So for many decades, I would attempt to continue to write this work. Yet my lack of confidence would hinder me and literally stop me in my track until one day I asked and begged my inner guides and cried out loud, "If you want me to write this book, then show yourself to me." Within a fraction of a second, there it was, standing before me in its majestic, faceless purple robe. I was completely taken by surprise and terrified by this presence of divine love. It overwhelmed me so much that I began to cry. It disappeared immediately because of my reaction. I begged for this present to return, crying and telling it that if it chooses to return, that I would not be frightened by this present. So it did return, and yes, I was overwhelmed by this present, and it left as fast as it had manifested. That was the proof I needed to continue to write. So I continued and completed this work in 2013 and published my book, Listening, Contemplating Loving, in November of 2021. In closing, someone asked me this week, "Why did you write this book?" My answer was, my first intent was to fulfill my spiritual mission, which I had agreed to. Also, during this continual hardship while writing this work, my intent was placed on writing this book so all my children can understand how I was raised and learn about all the hardship I have had to endure. I told them, it's funny, none of them I've read it yet. However, now it will serve others. Intent always determines every aspect of our lives. So, many readers may find some of the experiences mentioned in this book to be far-fetched, out of this world, even unbelievable. They were not written to convince anyone of their validity. Rather, they are meant to inspire, to dare the reader to have some of their own out-of-body experiences. It may be important to note here that the knowledge of divine truth is not something one can absorb from books, nor learn by discussing it with others. It shall always be something we experience by ourselves, for ourselves, and for no one else. Yes, to listen is to love, and to love is to listen. Thank you.